Hi everybody, I'm here, I'm back, I'm hiding out in my bathroom because I got a 3-year-old sleeping in the other room. Crap, I have a 3-year-old, that's kind of scary. My son just turned 3 last week on Monday, so that's new. Also, what happened the week before last was chemo. I promised you guys an update. I thought I was going to be hopping online with my husband to chat with you guys on Sunday night, and we missed that chance because I was a mess. I was just not really feeling well. Not chemo stuff, just general being sick stuff. So glad that's behind me, and I just wanted to talk about something really important. Probably the reason that you may have clicked on this video is because of the title of the video, which is why positive thinking is not enough. Yes, I said it. Positive thinking is not enough. Being optimistic is not enough. You're probably wondering a little bit right now, wow, why would you say that? You're like the most optimistic person I know. People tell me that all the time. Maybe if you live with me, you'll experience something different. But but I do try to be really positive. And I'm not saying that positive thinking is not important, because it definitely is, but it's not enough to keep you focused and moving forward when storms happen. So I want to talk about 2 very important words and dive into a few verses that really help me to understand why positive thinking wasn't enough. So I want to talk about 2 words today. I want to talk about optimism, and then I want to talk about optimizing, right? So those are the 2 words. I'm going to grab, I have props today. Isn't that exciting? Trying to keep this quick. So the first word we're going to talk about is optimistic, right? So this is the definition of optimistic, if you can see it here. I'm just going to read it off for you. Optimism is being hopeful, so hopefulness about a future outcome. Optimism is being hopeful about the future, hopeful about something that's going to happen. Oh, I hope that something good will happen. Or, oh, yes, if we believe positively enough, then good things are going to come to us. And that is wonderful. That is something that we do need. I'll tell you, in my darkest moments, it's kind of just that hope in the background of knowing that something better was coming, did really hold me at certain points. But I want to address the fact that that's not enough to keep you. That's not enough to motivate you through the hardest moments of life. And what is enough to keep you, I want to talk about, is what I really want to focus on today, which is optimizing. It's not enough to think positive and say, well, good things are going to come to me because I'm thinking positively. You actually have to be willing to do something about it. So the definition of optimize, of the word optimize, is to make the best of a situation, opportunity, or a resource. That's what I want to talk to you about today. I want to talk to you about what it takes to make the best of a situation. Because it's not enough to think, oh, well, you know what, I'm going through a hard time right now, but better days are coming ahead. It's going to be okay. We're going to be okay. I'm being optimistic about the future. I'm being, positive. I'm thinking positive. What you actually have to do is say, okay, you know what? I'm going to admit that I don't like where I am, but I'm not willing to stay here. I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to make the best of this circumstance. And what it's really about is something that I've heard explained this way, is that blooming where you're planted, right? So sometimes you get planted, we get put into these situations in life that we're not really thrilled about and we don't really like them, but just because you're in a job that you might not be thrilled with, just because you're in a medical situation that you might not be thrilled with, just because you're in a situation in life that you're not happy about, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you've got to be happy about everything that happens in your life. It's impossible. There are bad things that are going to happen, and you cannot be expected as a human being to be happy about everything that comes your way. I'm definitely not. I've been a little bit more open with kind of sharing that piece of me that's not thrilled, because I don't want to mislead people. I don't want you to think that life is easy or that I'm this super strong person that never has weak moments. That's not me. That's not any of us. No one person has the ability to just completely walk through life oblivious to everything bad happening. And so I just want to talk about blooming where you're planted and saying, okay, this is where I am right now. I'm not thrilled about it, but I'm going to make the best of it. It's not an optimal circumstance, right? Which is another O word. Optimal, meaning that this is not the best circumstance that I could possibly be in. This is not my ideal circumstance, but I'm still going to optimize, meaning that I'm still going to make the best of this situation. And I wanted to jump really quickly to a couple of verses that really just kind of stick out to me. I am reading from the book of James in the Bible. Like I've told you guys many times before, this is my life. This is what I live. I'm a Christian. I grew up in a Christian home. And so where I draw my strength from and my guidance, spiritual guidance, and for these tough times in life, is from the Bible. There are many other texts and verses and positive, sources of encouragement that might tell you the same thing. And that's great. Wherever you can find that, go for it. This is where I found it. So I'm reading actually from a book this time. I usually don't do that. I usually have things memorized. But chemo brain is real, and it's something called brain fog, and sometimes I forget things. So I'm just going to rely on the actual book. If you guys are just wondering, this translation of the Bible that I have is the Message. If you're not really familiar with the old language, I'm not thrilled with the King James Version, just because it's kind of written in Old English, and it's a little bit harder to break down. So this is my personal favorite, is the Message translation, and I'm reading from James chapter 1. I'm going to read verses 2 through 4. Okay, consider it a sheer gift, friends, when tests and challenges come at you from all sides. You know that under pressure, your faith life is forced into the open, and it shows its true colors. So don't get out of anything prematurely. Let it do its work, so you might become mature and well-developed and not deficient in any way. So that's kind of a big deal. It's first reminding us that you might not be where you want to be, but don't rush out of that, because just because it's not where you wanted to be doesn't mean it's not where God wanted you to be. So that's a really big deal. We need to take that in and say, okay, just because I'm not in the perfect circumstance doesn't mean that I can't A, learn something from this, and B, grow from this circumstance. There's still something I can grow from in this circumstance. So it's not ideal, but I'm going to get busy, and the best possible way that I can deal with this is by learning the lesson through it. And so that's saying I'm not going to be optimistic about, well, soon I'm going to be out of this and everything will be okay. I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to optimize the situation I'm in. No, it's not where I want to be, but if I can learn something, then I grow. And that's really huge. Okay, I'm going to jump back to the book of Romans chapter 8. I encourage you all to read it, the entire chapter, on your own time. My mom actually made me memorize the entire chapter, and I wasn't crazy about it when I had to memorize it, but now it's really something that always comes to mind, and I'm always reminded of that. And that's something that God promises, that if you put His word in your heart, it will come into your remembrance when you need it. And so that's another really great thing there, to find yourself in the word, because it will come back to you. Even if you don't think it applies to your life right now, it's going to apply to your life. So I'm reading from Romans 8. I'm going to start at verse 18, and I'm going to read all the way through verse 25. So here we go. That's why I don't think that there's any comparison between the present hard times and the coming good times. The created world itself can hardly wait for what's coming next. Everything in creation is more or less held back. God reins it in until both creation and all the creatures are ready and can be released at the same moment into the glorious times ahead. Meanwhile, the joyful anticipation deepens. All around us, we observe a pregnant creation. The difficult times of pain throughout the world are simply birth pains, but it's not only around us, it's within us. the Spirit of God arousing us within, we also feeling those birth pains. These bodies of ours are yearning for full deliverance. That is why waiting doesn't diminish us any more than waiting diminishes a pregnant mother. We are enlarged in the waiting. We, of course, do not see what is enlarging us, but the longer we wait, the larger we become, and the more joyful our expectancy. And so that might sound like a lot of craziness, but for me, it's saying, hey, look, you're going to go through a hard time, but it's bringing you to something greater, right? So it is a little bit, right? Because in the beginning, it's kind of focusing on the future, saying, okay, something good is coming, but it does more than that, because it says, hey, look, you're going through pain right now, but it's for a purpose, meaning that there is a positive thing that is going to come from this. And what I believe that positive thing is what we saw in James, what we read in James 1 verses 2 through 4, which is that the positive that comes out of any negative situation, of any painful situation that we go through, is that we learn, we grow, we develop maturity and patience. And the person I am today is not the person I was 10 years ago, and it's not the person I was 5 years ago, and it's not even the person that I was 5 hours ago, because pain changes you, and you have the choice to either say, okay, I'm going to make the best of this circumstance, and I'm going to look for what I'm supposed to learn in this so I can move forward, or you can get stuck in the pain. The same water that hardens the egg softens a potato. The same boiling water. So what I want to just kind of like bring to you today is just that knowledge that it's not enough to say, well, someday I'm going to be optimistic. Someday in the future, something good is going to happen. We have to walk into that and say, okay, I'm not just willing to wait until something good happens. I am going to make the best of where I am right now so that I can walk in something good until I get to something great. And that's just really what I wanted to talk to you guys about. I try not to keep you really long. Last time I kept you like 20 minutes. Next time I'll bring my husband on. He is sleeping. He works overnight, so he's sleeping right now. My husband is sleeping. My son is sleeping. Got a house full of sleeping people, which is why you always find me hiding out in the bathroom. But I want to thank you guys all for joining me. I want to thank you for your prayers as I've been going through chemo. This time is definitely a little bit harder than last time. But it's still a process, and it's still something that I'm looking to say, okay, what can I learn from this? Because that's when I grow. That's when I benefit from this. When I say, okay, I am not in an optimal circumstance. I'm not in the best place. This is not ideal. This wasn't my life plan for myself, to be 32 years old, going through chemotherapy, struggling with Crohn's disease. This was not my life plan. It wasn't something that I sat down as a kid and say, oh, gee, when I grow up, I want to struggle with chronic illness. It's not something that I did. However, it doesn't mean that it's something that has to be negative. So the pain that I go through right now, physical pain, emotional pain, whatever pain you're facing, emotional, physical, financial, whatever you're going through right now, there is a greater purpose of that. But you get to that purpose by choosing not just optimism, not just choosing to say, hey, I'm going to be hopeful because the future is going to be better. It's choosing to optimize where you're at right now. And I hope that if this is nothing else, it's encouraged you to get out there and do something good with where you're at. Don't wait until you're in the most beautiful vase to bloom. Even though you're in the mud right now, you can still bloom where you're planted. And that's all I wanted to do today, is encourage you and hopefully give you something to think about. It's not enough to think positively about life, about the future. We have to be willing to act on that positivity. And so, just to close this off, again, why thinking positive is not enough. Because I have to live positive. And I hope, if nothing else, that this has encouraged you to do just that. God bless. I'll catch you guys later.